Hi, this is Bill here, and lately there's been a lot of interest in excess deaths during the pandemic lockdown period that began in 2020. And I've seen something posted by Mike Mutzel and John Campbell. And anyway, I thought I'd give you my take on this. Yeah, and no one seems to be interested or talking about this, at least not at a political level, but I think it's important to share this. Okay, so what I'm showing here is U.S. deaths beginning in 2010 up until 2022, the last full complete year. And this is all data from the CDC, so anybody can grab this and check what I've done. And so the left axis here is the number of people that died, bottom axis is the year. And as you can see, it pretty much goes up pretty linearly up until 2020, and then we see a spike up in excess deaths. And certainly most of this is due to COVID deaths because it's a new disease that came in. But it's not entirely due to COVID, and I will actually show you that 250,000 of these deaths, which is 25% of the actual total COVID deaths, were due to other causes and probably consequence of the lockdown policies. What I do in this analysis is that I have fit a straight line to the background data, which is all the data from 2010 to 2019 before COVID showed up, and see how well it fits, and it fits it very well. And of course, deaths are increasing over time, mainly because the age of the population is increasing. Our population is aging, and the leading cause of death, to put it bluntly, is just getting old. So, yeah, that's what's happening here. But what I want to do is if the straight line fits well, which it really does quite well here, you want to then extrapolate that forward to get an estimate for how many deaths would you have expected, say, in 2020, 2021, 2022, if there had been no COVID. And so that's what this dashed line over here is doing. And since it fits so well to the previous data, I have confidence that it's going to be a reasonably good estimate of what the death rate would be. Yeah, so going to the CDC data, we can, here's an analysis. We can break these different causes of deaths in different categories, and then we can go ahead and analyze what we think the deaths should have been in a non-COVID year, had COVID not come around, versus what we actually get. And so here we go, different categories. This is heart disease, cancer, unintended injuries, and so on and so forth. And so, like I did with total deaths, I just fit a line to the previous years. And, again, generally speaking, because we're getting older as a population, these lines all tend to trend upwards. And so from this, you can get some estimate what you think, say, the deaths would have been for, say, 2022 in a normal year without COVID and lockdown policies versus what we actually get. This number you see on the right here, it says correlation. This gives you an idea how confident we are in straight line estimation of future deaths, if you will. It's how well it fits the previous data. 1.0 is a perfect correlation, which of course you get for COVID, because COVID didn't exist before 2020, at least for killing people in the United States. So we have 100% confidence that if COVID had not happened, we would be able to predict there have been 0 deaths due to it. The other diseases, it's not as clear cut, but you can see for heart disease, we have a very high correlation of predictability of 0.95, unintended injuries 0.96, cancer is less at 0.7. One thing is interesting is, let's take flu. Flu has a really low correlation. Like if it were 0, it basically say the fitting model is useless. and it's pretty nearly so for kidney. But flu is not surprising because we have bad and mild flu seasons. You know, so it's not something that's linked to an aging population or any general trend. I mean, you just have a bad year, you get a lot of deaths. You get a mild year, you get few deaths, and you know it's pretty hit and miss when this happens. And so, anyway, the number on the left is the number of excess or deficit deaths you get. So for heart disease, we got 150,616 additional deaths over what we should have gotten in the last 3 years, beginning 2020. And then, you know, cancer, you got 70,000, and the other standout one is diabetes. We got, you know, where it's a very clear spike up. Of course, notice that flu, we actually have a decline in deaths with a lot of uncertainty. You know, and then of course, interestingly, suicide actually went down. And this is from the CDC, and very confidently so. So actually lockdowns, I guess, help prevent suicides. Apparently, I wouldn't have expected that, but apparently that's what the data shows. Stroke, as you see, is one that increased. And of course, you got COVID, of course, big increase there because it was a new disease. You know, that did make people, they'd kill people. I'm not going to deny that. So anyway, you add all these numbers up, you know, the positives and negatives, and here's kind of the summary. So for COVID, we got 974,901 deaths. Non-COVID deaths increased by 256,487, you know, for a total excess deaths of 1,231,388. And so I think it's interesting that, you know, 250,000 people have died in the last 3 years due to the COVID lockdown policies. And, you know, no one's talking about this. I mean, maybe the only good news in all of this is that, you know, like if you look at heart disease, which is a big contributor, cancer, diabetes, say stroke, these things generally deal with fitness. Well, maybe cancer not, but those generally deal with fitness and stuff. You see they're finally starting to trend back to the trend line. So that's good. Last plot I'm going to show here is basically the same thing as the previous one, except we've subtracted the trend line off. You know, so that way a normal year would be 0 for any given year. And then the two dashed lines you see here and here, that's basically translating that correlation confidence into an uncertainty. It's basically 95% confident that anything outside of those lines is significant. You know, so basically, as you see flu, for example, because it doesn't trend well with the line, it's, you know, its numbers are mostly noise. There's a little bit of significance to to the decline during COVID, which I think we all know about this. But as you can see, the heart, the cancer, the diabetes, and stroke, you know, those definitely exceed the uncertainty bound. So we can be pretty confident that. And including suicide, which actually went down, and be confident that these are new deaths as a result of policy changes. So I think this was interesting to me. Again, no one's talking about this, and there's a number of YouTube influencers are making a point of this too. And I think people should talk about this because, you know, the question, of course, comes up in the context of this. Well, did these lockdowns save more people than, say, the 250,000 of additional deaths we had? I guess that's an argument to have. Johns Hopkins did a study on this and claims that the number of lives saved through lockdowns was like 0.2%, or, you know, you're talking like 20,000 people. So clearly we put a lot more lives, well, we sacrificed a lot more lives to follow these lockdown policies that kept people in their houses. They probably ate more, didn't exercise as much. Gyms were closed, which I think was a really stupid thing to do. And even stupider was that we even closed down outdoor gyms like calisthenics parks. You know, when the general thinking, even back in 2020, in March, we're talking March and April, they were saying that it probably was hard to get this disease outdoors. But I remember Santa Monica, the exercise equipment was all gated off, like you couldn't go on the pull-up bars and stuff like that. And so, one thing, as I say, so this is something that I think we should talk about. It's not even just a pandemic mitigation measure. I mean, the World Economic Forum's even talking about having 3-month lockdowns periodically in the name of fighting carbon emissions and climate change. And, well, if the world adopts that stupid policy, you're going to kill people with it. I mean, this is what the data shows. So feel free to comment and so on. Thank you.